So Glenn Greenwald had a debate with Alan Dershowitz in New York, and I love this. The debate was over, should the U.S. start war with Iran? Now, they didn't put it in such stark terms like that, but that is what the debate is over. The actual specific nature of the debate is, should the U.S. bomb Iran's nuclear facilities? Which, again, is just brazenly an act of war, but it's framed as if it's like just a little operation here or there. Imagine somebody did that to us. Some foreign country bombed our nuclear capabilities. They're like, no, it's okay. Look, it was a limited operation. We actually don't want war with you. We'd be like, what the that is literally an act of war. You don't get to start a war and then go, but we're against the war. Come on, man. What is this? So anyway, man, Glenn must live for this debate stuff, because to accept a debate with Epstein's buddy, I mean, and this guy he's loathsome. He's loathsome. But look, credit to both of them for doing the debate. But, you know, if I was Alan Dershowitz, I'd be hiding in a fucking cave, given the nature of the various allegations against him. And he's still willing to show his face in public, which is kind of fucking crazy. So anyway, I'll play some moments here from the debate for you. But suffice to say, Glenn absolutely pummeled him into the ground. Dershowitz is way outclassed in this. So this is part of Dershowitz's opening statement. And I love the tone of this, because this is the classic modern era, like the stuff people say on podcasts. Like, bro, we need to have like conversations, bro. Aren't conversations like good, bro? I don't know. Are all conversations good? Is it good to debate whether or not to nuke Gaza, for example, which is a position that a lot of top Israeli officials have said, and even some U.S. politicians have said? Sometimes debates are, you know, the nature of a debate matters. It's not just like debate and discussion are good. Okay, anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Let's dive in.
What a wonderful event. At a time when, as the moderator said, there are too few debates, too many bumper stickers, too many people cheering for one side or the other. Having a great debate about a really difficult subject is so important. Parts of me...
This is not a difficult subject. It's just not.
...wishes this was not a debate, wishes it was a discussion.
Let's discuss whether or not to bomb Iran ruthlessly. Let's have a casual discussion on that.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful event. At a time when, as the moderator said, there are too few debates, too many bumper stickers, too many people cheering for one side or the other. Having a great debate about a really difficult subject is so important. Parts of me wishes this was not a debate, wishes it was a discussion, because there are arguments on both sides of this, very, very compelling arguments on both sides of this.
No, there's definitely not.
It's a very, very difficult question. Anytime a decision is made to take preventive military action, that involves cataclysmic consequences and considerations.
Preventive military action to offensively and aggressively bomb Iran's nuclear capabilities. Preventive, he calls it. It is by definition not preventive if you are starting it. Oh my God.
So I want to go over why I think the argument here favors taking such preventive military action, though I understand the consequences. We know the risks of taking preventive military action when it shouldn't have been taken. We can call those false positives. You can call them by whatever word you want to call them, but we know that that happened in Iraq when we went in thinking or believing or proclaiming or claiming that there was nuclear facilities, only to find out that there wasn't, with very tragic events for so many people, civilians and military.
By the way, I need you all to take note of the way that Iraq is discussed now, because this is what happens with history. Over time, the position that was held by the minority, a tiny percentage, enough time passes and it becomes everybody agreed with the brave people who were a small number who were speaking up for the right thing at the time. I don't know. I can't portray to you in clear enough terms just how much of a fringe position it was at the beginning of the Iraq War to stand up and say, let's not do this. This is an illegal war. This is an offensive war. This is a country that didn't attack us. This is a country that had nothing to do with 9/11. They don't have weapons of mass destruction. This is unacceptable. Like, very few people were saying that. Everybody was screaming from the rooftops, war, yes, more war, yes. There was a bloodlust that had overtaken the country. But enough time passes, and now everybody pretends. Who, me, bro? I was always against the war, bro. This also happened with anti-Vietnam War protesters. they were smeared relentlessly. They were viewed as dirty hippies who hate America, right? Again, with the Iraq War, why do you love Saddam Hussein? Why are you defending a terrorist? This guy's a brutal dictator. I guess you're pro-dictator. All the worst things imaginable were said about these people. Then over time, everybody pretends, who, me, bro? I was totally with the anti-war people every step of the way, bro. And then now it's the same shit going on. The same thing is going to happen with the Israeli genocide in Gaza. And this guy is yearning for war with Iran, and he won't live to see the day. But if that were to happen 30 years in the future, everybody would be like, me, I was against war with Iran. When I guarantee you, if it happens, there's going to be another bloodlust mass hysteria moment where only a brave few people are speaking out against it. God, I hate this guy. So he's casually, I'm being calm and reasonable and saying, I see both sides of the argument, but I'd still like to start World War III. All right, so now, here, I'll give you this one. This clip kind of went viral.
Iran did not want to kill Israelis, that it sent these hundreds of drones knowing they would all be miraculously stopped. Can you justify that?
Yeah, what I want to say is if Iran has such a primitive army that they're not capable of landing even a single missile inside Israel because all they have is a bunch of crappy drones and slow missiles that can be removed from the sky by Jordan and by the United Arab Emirates, then they're hardly an imposing country. The reality is that Hezbollah...
All you need is one to get through.
Alan, please.
One,
Hezbollah has tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of highly sophisticated missiles pointed directly at every single major Israeli city, including Tel Aviv. If Iran wanted to do a kind of response against Israel that you're suggesting they wanted, they had that capability and they didn't because they're a rational, restrained country that didn't want to end up in a world war. I know. The only rational, restrained countries are America, Israel, and the West.
So by the way, this point he's making, don't misconstrue it. Glenn is not saying that domestically Iran is rational with their Shia Islamist dictatorship. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is internationally, they understand the power dynamics. They understand the degree of strength they have relative to the United States and Israel and their enemy countries. So they do act rationally on the international stage. And that is undeniable. Because what they're discussing here is Alan Dershowitz is pretending like the attack from Iran on Israel was unacceptable. The attack from Iran on Israel was a virtue signal PR reaction to the fact that Israel had repeatedly attacked Iran. And he's pretending like it's a provocation. It's not a provocation. They had to save face, and the way they saved face was to do a non-attack attack. To say, hey, we don't actually really want this, but fucking stop attacking us. That's what it was.
I know the only rational restrained countries are America, Israel, and the West. That's what your media tells you all the time, so I know that you believe that. But there are actually other rational restrained countries in the world, too. You're always told there's a new Hitler in Iran, there's a new Hitler in Russia, there's a new Hitler named Hamas, there's a new Hitler in Syria, and you believe it all the time, and you stand up and you cheer all those evil, irrational countries. As I said, if you look at who the ones are who are starting wars, it is your country, the United States, and along with Israel as well. And that is just the reality if you remove yourself from Western propaganda.
So understand something, normally a debate like this would probably be packed full of people who are more pro-Palestine. But in this instance, there's a lot of Zionists in the audience. This is a New York audience. And so Glenn also had to take on half the audience along with Alan Dershowitz. And it was a masterclass. All right, so I have one more for you here. This is Glenn breaking down U.S. policy vis-a-vis other countries, and Dershowitz buys into this goofy-ass idea of the U.S. and Israel stand up for enlightened Western values and freedom and democracy, and Glenn comes in and drops an anvil on his head.
We don't have any problems with dictators or with tyrannical governments. In fact, the core of American foreign policy since the end of World War II, throughout the Cold War and then into the War on Terror, is we want dictatorial regimes. It's much easier to install them because they're there to keep the population, many of whom would be anti-American because of their perception of all the wars that we start, under control. Those dictators are there in all these wonderful countries that we're told we should replicate, like Saudi Arabia and Egypt and all those Gulf states. They're there to keep the population down, and we're happy with it. We support those countries. We don't go around the world attacking other countries or trying to remove their government because we want to give those people freedom and democracy. We only do it when we see a government that doesn't do our bidding. And that was fine to do at the end of World War II when we had supremacy. Maybe it was fine when the Cold War fell and we had supremacy in the 1990s. This is now a multipolar world. If you look at why so many countries are going to China or joining BRICS, are leaving the Western influence, it's because of the resentment that this kind of mentality is spawning. What do you think the world is going to do as they watch the United States continuously assert its unilateral and singular right to start wars against other countries who are not attacking us? Because we have been told over and over since birth that our country is the shining beacon on the hill, that we are the emblem of democracy, that it's only other countries, those bad countries like Iran and Russia and China where bad things happen. We're the good countries. Our wars are good. I think if there's anything that the last 20 years of history should tell us is that we have to start thinking critically about all of this propaganda, thinking critically about what the role of our own country is in the world, and all of the devastation and misery and suffering and bloodshed and instability that happens whenever our government or our media convinces us to support yet another war. This would be the worst of all of those wars because of how big Iran is, because of how sophisticated their military is. And if you thought Iraq was bad, think about what bombing Iran will entail.
The U.S. supports 73% of the world's dictatorships. There's nothing to debate here. It's very obvious we're not defending freedom and democracy and justice and human rights around the world. Does it look like we're defending justice and human rights around the world with our backing of Israel as they commit a literal genocide in Gaza? Does it look like that? No. Everybody knows that. Or anybody reasonable knows that. So Glenn was out there bussing up every single line of preposterous propaganda that spoon-fed to us over the years. And Alan Dershowitz, of course, was to sit there and defend the status quo and defend the establishment and casually act like, bro, it'd just be a little incursion into Iran. It'd be preventative. We'd be in and out. This is all the same shit people said at the beginning of the Iraq War. Oh, it'll be quick. We'll be in and out. Remember Bush with the mission accomplished banner when mission was not at all accomplished? Remember that? Remember how we broke the region, killed hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians, displaced millions, broke the region, led to the rise of ISIS? Remember that? So a guy like Alan Dershowitz, yearning for war with Iran, he has no idea what the fuck he's asking for. He has no idea what he's asking for. And I can't take anybody seriously who looks at the situation currently unfolding in Gaza and comes away still being pro-Israel, still defending Israel, still acting like we're the good guys, arming and funding a literal genocide where over 40,000 Palestinians are dead, including 38,000 innocent civilians, 16,000 children, 10,000 women. If that's not a wake-up call, if that doesn't shake you out of your complacency and remove the delusions, then nothing will. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.